Something with a bulbous head and skinny limbs darted across a woman's yard in Compton. A ghostly shape floated through a backyard hammock and flipped it over, and a group of rafters spotted something upright and covered in hair watching them from the trees. Whatever it was, it definitely wasn't a bear. These are disturbing creatures captured by hidden cameras. So this is pretty nuts. Watch the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. So a woman in Compton named Jessica Ortiz caught whatever this was on her doorbell camera. It was around 1 a.m. on June 5th when her Ring cam picked up something weird darting across her porch. It's only in frame for a second or two, but it really does look like a little alien dude. I was like, I'm going crazy. I'm literally going crazy. I'm losing my mind, Jessica said after watching it. She grabbed her son and had him check the footage as well, just to make sure she wasn't imagining things. Going on to say, he sat up on his bed and he played it like 3 times. When he was done on the 3rd one, he was like, "Mom, it's an alien, call the police." I was like, I'm not calling the police on an alien, it'd sound crazy, end quote. She called her neighbor though behind the house to ask if anyone had been outside, and no. To make things creepier, Ortiz said that there were loud banging sounds right after the thing ran by. Watch what was captured floating through this person's backyard. Now it definitely looks like smoke at first, but as it moves through the hammock, well, first of all, it completely flips it around, and as it floats across the screen, the vague, formless shape starts to form into what looks like a ghostly entity with its arms stretched out. And it doesn't fade away like smoke would, it comes back, moving in the opposite direction. Watch the top of the screen. So that is pretty weird. This is either some clever VFX work or something that can't be as easily explained. What do you all think? Share your thoughts down below. Next up, we have a new piece of Bigfoot footage for you. On May 24th, a crew from Colorado River Expedition had pulled over on the upper Colorado River for a lunch break when someone shouted, "Bear!" But they quickly realized this wasn't a bear. As lead guide Logan Kirk put it, someone yelled out that they saw a bear, so we started looking at it, and that's when we realized it was something else. It wasn't a bear. It was standing up there on the hillside. It was definitely bipedal, which really stood out to us, end quote. So, here we see this big hairy figure standing upright looking out through the trees. It stands between 2 pines and just stares at the camera, then disappears back into the woods. Now, bears do stand on their hind legs sometimes, but not like this. I'm not going to speak to the validity of this being a Sasquatch or not, but it isn't a bear. Hoax or not a hoax, that's another question, but Kirk isn't done with this yet, saying we're going to go up to see if we can find any evidence of what was going on up there, whether that's footprints or something else. And another recent story out of Colorado, 2 friends hiking in the Rockies may have accidentally snapped a photo of something. A 20-foot tall gray figure clinging to the side of a mountain. Jesse Clausen and Camille Avarella were coming down Long's Peak last year on August 24th when they took a photo of the view, not realizing that there was something lurking in the background. "I was shocked to the bone when we were looking at the picture," Clausen said. "At the time, they didn't see anything unusual. We didn't take the picture because we saw that thing. We just took it because the mountain range was pretty," she continued. The hike started at 2 a.m. and the photo was taken around 9 a.m., right after they'd reached the summit. "We were in full adrenaline mode, so we weren't really paying attention," Clausen explained. Well, weeks later, while showing the photos to family on a big TV screen, Camille's dad spotted something odd. "What the hell? That thing is at least 20 foot or so," he said. And Camille was like, "Should we call the Rangers?" "It could be a rock," Avarella admitted, "but it has all the features of something that is human," Clausen added. But what do you all think? Share your thoughts in the comments. This image was captured by a Reddit user's security camera. WeirdSet2248 writes, "This is a Tapo camera out the back. The edge of it catches the neighbor's garden. I have chickens out back, which is a new addition. My mom wanted to see a pic of them to see if I could keep an eye on them over the camera, and she replied saying, 'What's up with your neighbor's face?' WTF is going on with his face, Skinwalker?" And yeah, there's clearly something off here. The mouth especially. When I first looked at this post, the face reminded me of something. I just couldn't put my finger on it. But thankfully, a commenter beat me to it, saying it looks like the guy is wearing a Winnie the Pooh mask. Kinda looks like that live-action horror version of Winnie that came out a couple years ago.
In 2015, oceanographers using sonar mapping in the South Atlantic came across something so strange they thought it was a glitch. A perfectly circular black void, roughly 30 kilometers wide, was swallowing water and trapping everything around it. At first, they thought it was a current or eddy, but this thing behaved differently. It rotated steadily without dispersing, almost like a massive black hole in the ocean. Floating debris and plankton near it got pulled in and disappeared into its spinning center. This phenomenon, known as a coherent eddy, was eventually confirmed to trap water and objects for months without mixing with the surrounding sea. Scientists fear that these eddies could transport pollutants or even radioactive waste across oceans silently without anyone even noticing. No one knows exactly what happens to material caught in the center, but what they do know is that whatever enters stays hidden for months and maybe even years. In 2016, a submersible exploring off the coast of California recorded a creature that no one expected to find there. It was a ghost shark, a deep-sea relative of sharks and rays. These creatures are usually found in the southern hemisphere, but this one was more than 2,000 meters down, far outside its known range. Its pale, translucent body, rabbit-like face, and wing-like fins made it look like something out of a science fiction. But what unsettled researchers even more was its anatomy. It had sensory pores that detect tiny electrical signals, allowing it to hunt in pitch-black conditions with terrifying precision. Scientists still don't know how this ghost shark ended up in the Pacific. It may suggest there are entire undiscovered populations of deep-sea predators roaming the ocean floor in total darkness. In 2017, during a dive in the Caribbean, researchers encountered what looked like an underwater mirror. When their submersible got closer, they realized it was a layer of extremely dense water lying beneath the sea floor. This lake flipped the laws of physics on their head. The denser layer behaved like a ceiling. Fish approaching it turned away. When the submersible dipped into it, it was pushed back up as if it had hit a trampoline. Scientists called it a halocline, a natural barrier created by extreme salinity and temperature differences. But what shocked them most was what was trapped beneath. ROV cameras captured strange worm-like creatures clustered along the barrier, surviving in total isolation. It was an ecosystem completely sealed off from the rest of the ocean. No one knows how long these environments have been locked away or what else might be evolving beneath them. In 2020, a team exploring the Pacific seafloor stumbled on a bizarre microbial colony feeding on something unusual: iron and manganese nodules. These nodules take millions of years to form, but the microbes weren't just living on them. They were breaking them down and consuming the metals directly. This behavior shocked scientists. Metal-eating microbes can accelerate the decay of ships, submarines, and undersea cables. But more concerning, these organisms were unlike any species previously identified. Their presence raised disturbing questions. How much of the sea floor is controlled by unknown biological activity? And could these microbes spread, altering entire ecosystems before we can even understand them? In 2019, researchers mapping the sea floor off the coast between Africa and Madagascar noticed something alarming. Instruments were picking up strange seismic activity that didn't match any known fault lines. When they sent sonar equipment down, they discovered a brand new underwater volcano rising from the sea floor. Over just 6 months, it grew to 800 meters tall, releasing massive plumes of superheated water and gas. What terrified scientists was the speed. Most volcanoes take centuries to form, and this one appeared seemingly overnight. The eruption caused tremors felt on land, and satellite images showed the seafloor bulging upwards. It's now considered one of the largest and fastest submarine eruptions ever recorded, and it raised a chilling question: how many other hidden volcanoes are growing in silence beneath the ocean? Deep in the Pacific, more than 4,000 meters down, scientists discovered a strange phenomenon they still can't fully explain. It's called the shadow zone, a massive stretch of water where nothing seems to move. No currents, no circulation, no mixing. When instruments were lowered into the zone, they detected old water trapped from thousands of years, completely cut off from the rest of the ocean. It's like a giant pocket of ancient water frozen in time. What makes this so disturbing is what could be inside. Some researchers believe the shadow zone could hold microbial life forms from Earth's distant past. Others worry it could trap carbon, chemicals, or even unknown organisms for centuries. It's like a vault at the bottom of the sea, waiting to be opened.
Mutated creatures are becoming a growing concern. Animals with human DNA, genetically modified glowing pets, and lab salmon made to grow twice as fast as natural ones. What are the ethical concerns of tampering with DNA? What are the dangers that GMOs can have on natural ecosystems? These are highly controversial hybrids, genetically modified or mutated creatures. Human-animal hybrid chimeras. That does not sound like a real thing, but it is. Human-animal hybrid chimeras are creatures that combine human and animal cell, resulting in organisms with both human and non-human characteristics. Imagine a being with the body of a pig, but with human brain cells. Crazy, but it does have its upsides when it comes to stem cell research and organ transplantation. But obviously there's some ethical things to consider, and there have been legal restrictions on this kind of research. In the United States, the Human-Animal Chimera Prohibition Act of 2016 was introduced to address some of these concerns. On August 22nd, 2016, Representative Christopher H. Smith put forth a bill that prohibits creating a human-animal chimera, transferring human embryos into non-human wombs, or vice versa. Penalties could be pretty severe, hefty fines and/or imprisonment for up to 10 years. But the bill didn't end up getting passed. Humanzees. These are hypothetical hybrids of humans and chimpanzees. There are rumors and conspiracies about attempts being made to create them, but none have been 100% verified. Doesn't sound all that outlandish to me though. Obviously this type of experiment would be highly unethical, so it would make sense that there would be attempts to cover it up. The first and most infamous attempt to create a human-chimpanzee hybrid was spearheaded by a Soviet biologist, Ilya Ivanov. Ivanov had set out to create a human-chimpanzee hybrid as early as 1910. By the 20s, he was trying to artificially inseminate female chimpanzees to create part human, part chimp offspring. It didn't work, but his next plan was even more ambitious. He wanted to impregnate human women instead, but that's when the government supposedly stepped in and put a halt to his work. Then in the 70s, there was a chimpanzee named Oliver who became a bit famous when rumors started to spread that he might be part human. He had some unusual physical traits, an odd cranial shape, and he had freckles, but a genetic analysis in 1996 revealed that Oliver had the standard 48 chromosomes of a chimpanzee, not the 47 you'd find in a hybrid. So Oliver was just an unusually unique chimp. But stories about human-chimp hybrids don't end there. In 1981, a story came out about a chimpanzee being impregnated by a human in 1967 in China. A man named Ji Yongzheng, the head of the hospital in Shenyang, said that he'd been part of this experiment. According to him, the chimp was successfully impregnated but died from neglect when the Cultural Revolution disrupted the research, and scientists involved were sent away to farm labor. In 2019, there were also reports of a research team led by Professor Juan Carlos Espelza Belmont from the Salk Institute for Biological Studies in California having success with creating human-monkey chimeras. These embryos, which were only allowed to develop for a few weeks, were reportedly created in China to sidestep legal restrictions in the States. They weren't allowed to develop past the early stages in order to avoid more ethical issues. Let's talk about ligers. A liger is a hybrid cross between a male lion and a female tiger. Unlike chimeras, ligers aren't the result of genetic splicing or more complicated science experiments. Instead, this is just straightforward breeding. With that said though, there's still a ton of controversy with this. Ligers are often larger than either parent species thanks to a phenomenon called hybrid vigor. This means they can grow to be enormous, often reaching sizes beyond even the largest lions or tigers, and they can be very strong. But the major issues with ligers is their health. They usually have a whole list of physical problems, like joint issues, organ problems, and a lot of this has to do with their rapid growth and the fact that obviously they're not really supposed to exist. Plus, these things only exist in captivity. Ligers are bred for spectacle. Breeding ligers is legal in many places, but it's heavily scrutinized and of course illegal in others. Glowfish were the first genetically modified pets. They're a zebrafish that glow in the dark. Glowfish were developed in 1999 by scientists who inserted a gene from a jellyfish into a zebrafish. This gene causes the fish to produce a fluorescent protein, making them glow under ultraviolet light. Now, originally these fish were created to help detect environmental pollutants. If the water was contaminated, the fish would change color. But the glowing fish just looked so cool that companies started seeing dollar signs. Legally, glowfish are somewhat of a gray area. They were first marketed in Singapore, where the regulations on GMOs were more lenient. When they were introduced to the United States in 2003, there was a lot of controversy. Some thought they were neat, little nifty novelties. Others had concerns about the ethics of creating genetically modified pets and the impacts they could have on nature if they were to escape into the wild. Glowfish are legal and available to buy in a lot of places, but they're banned or restricted in others. For example, California has specific regulations when it comes to the sale and transport of genetically modified organisms, and glowfish were banned there for a long time. I think they may be legal now though. If anyone's from California in the audience, please let me know. Stonefish are some of the most well-camouflaged creatures in the ocean, making them fascinating but terrifying. These fish blend in so perfectly with their surroundings, whether it's rock, coral, or the seabed, it's almost impossible to spot them. And that's precisely what makes them so dangerous. They remain perfectly still, waiting for prey to pass by, and when the moment comes, they strike, ambushing and swallowing their prey whole. But it's not just their hunting skills that makes a stonefish so terrifying. The venom in their dorsal spines is released when the fish is disturbed. If you happen to step on one, well, let's just say you'll probably regret it. Stonefish stings are said to be excruciatingly painful and cause intense swelling in the affected limb within minutes. If the sting isn't treated, it can lead to necrosis and, in some cases, even death. Luckily, fatalities are rare, and immediate treatments like heat immersion, which helps to neutralize the venom, and anti-venom can help save lives. But no wonder scientists are more hesitant to study these creatures in the wild, given the risk of encountering one while out in the ocean. The pufferfish or blowfish is another sea creature with a deadly surprise. When threatened, the fish inflates itself, making it much harder for predators to swallow. Some pufferfish species even have spikes that protrude when inflated, but what makes the pufferfish so dangerous isn't the inflated body or the spines, it's the potent neurotoxin they carry inside their bodies. Tetrodotoxin is at least 1,200 times more toxic than cyanide. The toxin is concentrated in the fish's internal organs and skin, and even a small amount can be deadly. In fact, just one pufferfish can kill up to 30 adult humans. The fish's toxicity makes it highly unappealing to most predators, but in Japan, it's actually considered a delicacy. Fugu is a dish that's carefully prepared by licensed chefs who are trained to remove the toxic parts of the fish, but mistakes can happen, and when they do, the results can be fatal. Before Japan's licensing system, there were numerous deaths every year from improperly prepared fugu. Thanks to the licensing system, though, fatalities have gone down, but there's still the occasional case of food poisoning, often when people try to catch and prepare pufferfish on their own. The Titan triggerfish. Marine biologist Selena McMillan described being chased by one of these things, saying it was one of the scariest moments of her career. The Titan triggerfish is a large, colorful species of triggerfish found in coral reefs of the Indo-Pacific. These fish are known for their powerful jaws and large, sharp teeth, which are well suited for crushing hard-shelled prey like crustaceans and sea urchins. Triggerfish's teeth are unique because they're straight but incredibly thin, which makes them razor sharp. Despite their delicate appearance, they're surprisingly strong and resistant to damage. These fish are highly territorial, especially during their breeding season. They create and fiercely defend nesting sites on the ocean floor. Divers and snorkelers who may venture too close to these nesting areas may provoke an aggressive response from the triggerfish. They've been known to attack intruders, including humans, to protect their nests. They can also reach over 2 feet or 60 centimeters in length and are found in pretty shallow waters. Viperfish live in the deep, dark waters of the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, usually between 200 and 5,000 feet below the surface. They're not big, but they're definitely fierce. And what makes them terrifying, aside from how damn ugly they are, is the glow they emit from their body. This bioluminescent light is like a built-in lure to attract other fish, tricking them into getting close enough for the viperfish to snap its jaws shut on them. Even though it's not massive, the viperfish is a brutal predator, and scientists are fascinated by these things, but a little scared of studying it because it lives in some of the most extreme depths, and getting close enough to study it also means diving into some pretty dangerous waters. Next up, we have the oceanic white-tipped shark. These sharks are adapted to life in the open ocean and are often found far from shore, making encounters with humans pretty rare, and that's probably for the best. In terms of behavior, the oceanic white-tipped shark has a reputation of being aggressive, especially in situations where it associates humans with potential food sources. And because they live out in the middle of the ocean, they take whatever food they can get. They're opportunistic hunters. To make matters worse, these sharks are very unpredictable. They can switch from seemingly calm or indifferent to aggressive at the drop of a hat. The frilled shark looks like it came straight from the age of the dinosaurs. Often called a living fossil, this creature is an ancient species that's been around for over 150 million years. It has a long eel-like body with a head that almost looks like a snake, and its mouth is packed with all these sharp, backward-facing teeth. The frilled shark can grow up to 6.5 feet long, but the most terrifying thing about it is its feeding style. It's able to lunge forward and swallow prey whole using its long, needle-like teeth to trap it. It hangs out in deep waters, often between 200 and 500 feet below the surface. Scientists rarely get a chance to study them up close. The deep, dark waters they live in are hard to reach, and any research that involves these sharks comes with serious risks. Getting a good look at a frilled shark in its natural habitat is a dangerous undertaking. Because of that, there's still a lot we don't know about this eerie, prehistoric predator.
A giant green anaconda was just confirmed to be a whole new species, genetically different enough to have split off 10 million years ago, and big enough to swallow a deer whole. Scientists also found a brand new poison dart frog in Brazil, barely the size of a thumb, but incredibly toxic. And in Ecuador, a weird worm-looking thing turned out to be a legless amphibian with backward curved fangs. These are the strange and disturbing creatures recently found in the Amazon rainforest. In early 2024, a team of scientists working with the Waorani people in Ecuador came across what looked like a typical green anaconda until they ran the DNA. Turns out it wasn't the same species at all. It's now been named the northern green anaconda, and genetically it's about 5.5% different from the one we already knew about. That might not sound like much, but in evolutionary terms, that's a 10 million year separation. I was surprised by that too. This thing is huge. The team spotted one female that was over 20 feet long, and some locals claim they've seen them closer to 25 feet, weighing more than a half ton. It lives in remote rivers stretching from Ecuador to Venezuela and has pretty much gone unnoticed by science until now. They mostly feed on big prey, and by big prey I mean like deer and caimans, which are basically like a type of alligator. So yeah, these things are massive. The green anaconda stays underwater for long stretches. They're definitely not easy to spot, and unfortunately their territory overlaps with areas being torn up by oil drilling and illegal logging. The same researchers who found the snake also pointed out high levels of pollution in the water from petroleum waste, which could be slowly poisoning these animals. So yeah, the biggest snake ever found might already be at risk of extinction, and we only just learned it existed. Meanwhile, all you snake haters are clapping and cheering. I know you're out there. It's okay. I see you. This species was only officially described this year. It was found in the Brazilian Amazon jungle near the Juruá River. It's tiny, barely the size of your thumb, and unlike the last entry on this list, these creatures stand out because of their vibrant colors. Deep, coppery limbs, a reddish-brown body, and thin blue stripes running down their backs. Scientists named it Renitomea etherea, which roughly means heavenly in Latin. Researchers said that discovering it in such an untouched, remote area felt surreal, which completely makes sense. I mean, on one hand, it makes sense to find a new animal in a place where barely any human being has set foot, but I just mean it must have felt like they were stepping into another world. This new species belongs to the poison dart frog family, and like the others, it's toxic to the touch. That toxin comes from the things it eats, usually ants and mites. It's how these frogs protect themselves. This one in particular was only found in one small area, which makes it vulnerable right out of the gate. If anything changes in that spot, deforestation, drought, pollution, there is a good chance the whole species could disappear before we even get a chance to learn more about it. Also interesting, scientists noticed its call was different from nearby species, which could mean its mating habits or territorial behavior are totally unique too. So this thing looks like a giant worm, right? Want to know something really crazy though? It's not. It's actually an amphibian, a legless amphibian, a newly discovered species called the truncated caecilian. It was found in Ecuador in 2024. Technically, it sat in a museum for years before anyone realized what it was. After researchers dug back into the area it came from, they confirmed it was actually something totally new. This thing grows about 19 inches long, they have pale gray bodies, and their heads are kind of flattened out, hence the truncated part of the name. Let's talk about the teeth. What teeth, you may be asking? Allow me to explain, or shut off the video, I don't care. So these things actually have these curved back, needle-like teeth. It uses them to grab stuff and eat stuff like earthworms underground. These guys spend nearly their whole lives buried in the soil, which is why they're rarely seen and barely studied. There's still a ton we don't know about them. How do they reproduce? What's its full range? How many even exist? I don't know, if you're coming to me for answers, maybe rethink your life.
On Molokai, a Hawaiian island, scientists just officially described a completely new bee species called Helios pamako. They actually spotted it back in 2024, but it got officially described this year. These bees are completely black, no yellow markings like other bees. The name comes from the Hawaiian word pamako, which means mourning or grief. Because the bees are entirely black, it's like they're dressed up for a funeral. These things are tiny, probably make their nests in cracks under rocks or boulders, kind of like other Helios species. This is the first new bee found on Molokai in more than a century. So far, it's only been found on a small section of the island's eastern slopes. When researchers were working near the Jarua River in the Brazilian Amazon, they came across this tiny frog, a brand new species of frog. This is its official name, and it was only officially described this year. The thing is barely the size of your thumb, but the colors make it impossible to miss. It looks really cool with the copper reddish brown body and the blue lines running down its back. It's part of the poison dart frog family, so like its relatives, it's toxic. The poison comes from what it eats, mainly ants and mites packed with chemicals, which it then turns into its natural defense. So far, this new frog's only been found in one small area, which means anything that happens to that patch of forest could wipe out the species before we even get to understand it. In Cambodia, a team of scientists went exploring the limestone hills near the Thailand border and ended up discovering 3 new gecko species in one night. These hills, called karst landscapes, are these crazy jagged limestone formations full of caves and tunnels, and according to snake specialist Pablo Sinovas, you can quite literally go into a cave, collect a few specimens, and most likely there'll be some that are new to science. End quote. It was quite the adventure. The team had to navigate over sharp rocks, hidden holes, and they had to watch out for venomous snakes as they climbed through the caves with headlamps. They also came across scorpions, whip spiders, and frogs along the way. They carefully photographed the geckos, frogs, and snakes, and then the animals were tagged, measured, and had small tissue samples taken to figure out if they were truly new species. Out of about 40 animals collected that night, 3 geckos turned out to be new. Sinovas is hoping their work will convince Cambodia to protect these hills, saying, "Would you turn Angkor Wat into cement? You wouldn't." Well, some of these species should be considered national treasures as well. And if you think 3 new species of something is nuts, how about 40? Scientists just dug up a whole bunch of new moths. 40 species nobody knew about. All from the Philippines, but they didn't even have to travel there. These moths were collected more than 30 years ago and had been sitting in museum collections in Berlin and Copenhagen. They just hadn't been studied yet. They belong to the snout moth family, which is super diverse but often overlooked. Some of them look almost identical to each other, but thanks to genetics, researchers could tell they were totally separate species. Dr. Theo Ledger from a museum in Berlin said, "The Philippines is one of the world's biodiversity hotspots, home to many endemic species found nowhere else. That's why documenting biodiversity in this region is so urgent before it's lost." End quote. They worked through tons of specimens, and over half turned out to be completely new to science. The research also shows how much could be hiding in museum collections and, of course, in the remote mountains of the Philippines. Large areas haven't been explored there at all, so there are probably even more moths and other species out there waiting to be found. And there's now a newly discovered animal officially named Chewbacca. Deep down in the tropical Western Pacific, scientists finally got around to officially describing a coral. Meet Iridorgorgia chewbacca, a deep-sea bamboo coral named after everyone's favorite Wookiee. The species was formally described in 2025, but it was actually first spotted on video back in 2006 off Molokai, Hawaii, second time that place has shown up on the list, and again in 2016 near the Mariana Trench. These corals can reach up to 4 feet tall. Thousands of tiny polyps cover their branches, extending their tentacles to catch plankton. When they're feeding, the branches actually look kind of fuzzy, which of course adds to the Chewbacca vibe. In a bamboo forest in southwestern China, scientists just recently came across a tiny spotted frog that immediately caught their attention. After a few trips to Shishui County back in 2018, the team realized they'd found something special, a brand new species, now named this, or the Shishui leaf litter toad. These frogs are small, only about 1.5 inches long, with bumpy skin and slender limbs, and their eyes are multicolored, a mix of copper and silver. They perch on leaves about 4 feet off the ground near streams. So far, they've only been spotted in Shishui County, which is around 1,250 miles southwest of Beijing.
Nature can be beautiful, strange, and sometimes downright unsettling. Mutations are a part of evolution, but every once in a while, something happens that even the world's top scientists can't fully explain. These aren't myths, legends, or fake internet photos. These are real animals with real mutations documented in detail. Some adapted to their unusual conditions and thrived. Others left researchers with more questions than answers. Today we're diving into 10 mysterious animal mutations scientists still can't fully explain. Picture this. A goat walking down a dusty road on 2 legs like a person. That's exactly what villagers in Bihar, India saw in 2015. A baby goat was born missing its hind legs. Instead of struggling to survive, it did something incredible. It learned to balance upright on its front legs and walk. Locals captured the goat on video and it quickly went viral. Veterinarians examined it and found no neurological issues. The goat's spine and muscles had simply adapted to its new reality. Experts have documented animals adapting to missing limbs before, but what stunned scientists was how efficiently this goat moved. It walked with posture and rhythm almost identical to a human's gait. There was no training, no help, just raw survival instinct. Even now, researchers say they still don't fully understand how it achieved such perfect balance. In 2013, Spanish fishermen discovered something disturbing inside a pregnant blue shark, a fully formed two-headed embryo. Both heads had functional gills, eyes, and brains. This wasn't an isolated incident either. Similar two-headed shark embryos have been discovered in the Gulf of Mexico, Japan, and Argentina. Marine biologists confirmed the cases in studies published in Journal of Fish Biology. This condition happens when an embryo begins to split but never fully separates. It's rare in any species, but in sharks, it's exceptionally unusual. What puzzles scientists is why these cases have increased in the last decade. Some think pollution or environmental stress may play a role. Others say it might be genetic instability from population declines, but there is still no clear answer. The two-headed embryos usually don't survive long, but their increasing appearance is leaving experts uneasy. In 2017, biologists in Costa Rica documented something extraordinary: a frog whose entire body was see-through. Transparent frogs, known as glass frogs, already exist in nature, but this one wasn't just translucent. It was completely clear. Its beating heart, stomach, and liver were fully visible through its skin. Genetic testing showed it didn't match any previously cataloged species. The frog wasn't sick or albino either. Researchers studied it carefully but couldn't determine why or how the mutation happened. Transparency like this gives no clear evolutionary advantage and had never been recorded at this level in a wild amphibian. The frog lived a normal lifespan and appeared healthy, but its mutation remains one of the most puzzling amphibian cases of the last decade. In 2017, a farmer in Assam, India, witnessed something he described as, quote, otherworldly. One of his goats gave birth to a baby with a single, large eye positioned in the center of its forehead, kind of like that lady from Futurama. Veterinarians diagnosed the newborn with cyclopia, a rare congenital disorder caused by abnormal development of the front portion of the brain. The goat also had a missing nose and fused eyelids. What makes this case so mysterious is how well developed the rest of the body was. In most animals, this condition is fatal early in development, but this goat was born alive and even survived for several days. Experts said the chances of this happening naturally are astronomically low. Photos and footage were verified by local veterinary authorities, and the case gained international scientific attention.
This piece of footage comes from a CCTV camera in Thailand. Security guards were stunned by this strange object floating through the air. Take a look at this. Now, a lot of people were quick to say this was just a drone, but others have different opinions, including the guards. At one point, the guy filming the footage captured on the CCTV says the word Penanggalan. Now, Penanggalan is this vampiric creature from Malaysian and Indonesian folklore. By day, she looks like a normal woman, but at night, her head detaches from her body and floats around with her guts still dangling underneath. She flies through the air looking for victims, usually pregnant women, and feeds on them using her long tongue and organs. To keep her body safe while she's out hunting, she hides it somewhere and soaks it in vinegar so that her guts don't swell up. People would hang thorns or broken glass around their homes to snag her when she tried to come in, and if you ever found her empty body while she was out, you could kill her by burning it or stuffing it with sharp objects so she couldn't return to it before sunrise. So yeah, pretty gruesome creature. Luckily though, no reports of people being mauled by a flying head at the time this security footage was taken. This video comes from Reddit user illdisciplined3142, whose motion capture camera caught something really strange in their neighbor's backyard. Take a look at this. So it's not on screen very long, but the figure does appear to have a bit of an odd shape. The Redditor wrote in the description, the camera was placed towards the back end of the property. Directly in front of the camera is a massive 10,000 plus acre forest, meaning this creature would be walking towards the street from the forest at 2:39 a.m. with zero lights guiding it. The camera began to also pick up strange sounds after it was seen and continued to do so for about 30 seconds before ending. At this point of view, this creature would have to be 9+ feet tall, as the camera is placed about 10 feet up. This is entirely unedited footage. I have absolutely no idea what this could be, and the movement is strangely slow. Rewatching this footage brings me goosebumps of which I never felt before, since this was really close to my house as well. This is also an area that rarely has hunters, as it is a very protected forest. If anyone can attempt to identify what this truly is, it would save me a lot of thoughts. This is a pretty odd video. It comes from Reddit user SoggyGate9281, who asked, what does everyone think this is? The alarms are being set off because it's picked up motion detection. And I really don't know what to make of it. Seems to me it's just this glowing stick moving across the screen. Then it moves out of frame, but keep your eyes on the walkway at the bottom of the screen. A shadow moves across the frame. So someone or something was definitely outside, but who or what and why? This clip comes from Reddit user 87Lucas Oliveira, who wrote in the heading, a video captured by a security camera recorded a humanoid-looking shadow / transparent apparition at the back of the property, moving from left to right, leaving the dogs of the residents very agitated. The recording took place on a farm in El Salvador on February 6, 2025. So let's take a look at this. Now, it's hard to make out because the figure seems to be semi-translucent, but there's definitely something there. Notice how fast the thing moves too. It doesn't look like someone walking, it looks like something gliding, although, as the Redditor says, it does have a humanoid shape to it. And I love that there are dogs freaking out in this video. It just means it's not a case of a technical issue with the camera. I think this is a pretty strange video, but what do you all think? This Reddit user's grandparents captured something disturbing on their home security camera. Draw Representative 12 shared these images just the other day, along with a brief description. He said that a year or two ago, he was at Thanksgiving dinner, and his grandfather showed him these images on his living room camera. His grandparents don't live with anyone else. There's no little girl in the home, at least not that they know of. So who's walking through the living room here? And just what in the hell is this nightmare fuel standing in the doorway? Draw Representative 12 also said that his grandparents aren't tech savvy enough to hoax something like this. Seems to me there could be someone secretly squatting in the home. Either that or something else was captured on camera here. I'm really not sure which is worse.
When scientists explore the deep ocean, they don't always come back with clean answers. Down there, the water is silent, the pressure is crushing, and the darkness is absolute. It's the most unexplored place on Earth, and every new mission brings back something stranger than the last. Some discoveries are fascinating, others are so disturbing that even the experienced researchers were shaken to the core. These are 10 terrifying real discoveries in the deep ocean that left scientists genuinely unsettled. In 2012, after a violent storm tore through the Gulf of Mexico, divers made a discovery that felt like stepping into a time capsule. Off the coast of Alabama, 60 feet underwater, they found an ancient cypress forest that had been buried and sealed off for more than 50,000 years. What terrified scientists wasn't just how well preserved the trees were. The wood still oozed sap, bark peeled back like it had only fallen a few months ago. That kind of preservation isn't supposed to happen underwater for that long. When researchers began studying the site, they found that the forest was crawling with strange, never-before-seen species of marine life. The trees had created their own isolated ecosystem, thriving in total darkness. Some of the worms and bacteria found in the samples were unlike anything recorded before. What scares scientists most is the potential for ancient, dormant microbes to be awakened. If these organisms were trapped for tens of thousands of years, what else might be sleeping deep in other submerged environments? In 2014, a group of oceanographers studying Arctic currents stumbled upon something no one could explain. Near the Laptev Sea, they detected a massive, stable, underwater vortex spinning with incredible force beneath the ice. Normally, whirlpools like this break apart after a few days or hours. This one has been there for years. It's more than 50 miles wide and reaches over 1,000 feet deep. When equipment was lowered inside, the instruments went haywire. Compasses spun wildly, pressure sensors gave readings that didn't make sense. Some scientists believe it's caused by warm water escaping from deep layers of the Arctic Ocean. Others believe there's something even stranger happening, like the beginnings of a new kind of self-sustaining oceanic phenomenon. The scariest part? The whirlpool could be a preview of a larger, more dangerous event as polar regions warm up. If these grow unstable, they could affect global currents and climates in ways that we don't fully understand. Imagine descending to the seafloor and seeing a lake sitting inside the ocean. That's exactly what scientists found in the Gulf of Mexico in 2015. Known as brine pools, these underwater lakes are made of extremely salty water that doesn't mix with the rest of the ocean. When remotely operated vehicles touched the surface, the pool behaved like a thick, syrupy barrier. Any fish or crab that accidentally fell in would die instantly. The pool is so toxic, it literally preserves corpses on its surface. What terrified researchers wasn't just how lethal these pools are. When they sampled the water, they found microbial life that had adapted to survive inside this toxic brine. Some of these microbes metabolize chemicals in ways that we've never even seen before. These organisms could provide clues to alien life on other planets, but they also hint at how life could survive in some of the most dangerous conditions on Earth. In 1911, explorers in Antarctica noticed a strange red stain spreading across the white ice near Taylor Glacier. It looked like blood seeping out of the glacier itself, and when scientists finally sent equipment down decades later, what they found was unsettling. The blood was actually highly iron-rich, salty water emerging from a subglacial lake trapped beneath the ice for nearly 2 million years. But what disturbed scientists most was what lived inside that water. Despite total darkness, crushing pressure, and no oxygen, the lake is home to a thriving ecosystem of microorganisms. These microbes have been evolving in isolation since before humans existed. They survived by metabolizing sulfur and iron instead of sunlight. Scientists realized that this isn't just a freak of nature, it proves that life can thrive in places once thought impossible. And if it can happen here, under a glacier, it can happen deep beneath the ocean floor, where we've barely even looked at all.
Przewalski's horses are a rare species. One of the last truly wild horse breeds left on Earth. Native to the steppes of Central Asia, these horses were on the verge of extinction, but there have been a few attempts made to get their population back to a healthy place. In 1998, an experiment took place in the wake of the most disastrous nuclear accident in history, the Chernobyl exclusion zone. The vast area around the Chernobyl nuclear power plant had been evacuated due to radiation, and was then transformed into a sort of nature reserve with only a small handful of humans inhabiting the area. It seemed like the perfect place to release 31 of these endangered horses. Today, these horses have not only survived, but thrived. By 2019, their population in the Chernobyl zone had grown to over 100. And are there some possible negative consequences thanks to radiation? Possibly, but probably better than human tampering. Obviously, considering how rare these horses are and the conservation efforts being made, people aren't allowed to mess with these horses. Unfortunately though, poaching has been an issue and it's taken a bit of a toll on their numbers. Alright, next up is genetically modified salmon, produced by a company called Aqua Bounty Technologies. Now, this one is different from others on the list because there aren't restrictions on them, but there really should be, and I'll explain why. So these are the first genetically modified salmon approved by the FDA for commercial production and consumption. Aqua Bounty Technologies took genes from two other fish, Pacific Chinook salmon and the ocean pout, and inserted them into the Atlantic salmon's DNA. But why? Well, the goal was to create salmon that grow about twice as fast as regular salmon do. Instead of just growing seasonally like natural salmon, these guys grow all year round. So they're available on your plate all the time. Very convenient, but not everyone is on board with this. One big worry is what might happen if these GM salmon were to escape into the wild. Even though the FDA insists that this is not a concern because the salmon are raised in controlled environments and are sterile females that can't even produce anyway, a lot of people just don't want to eat genetically modified food. Well, alright, big deal, just don't buy them then. Well, that's the issue. The Aqua Advantage salmon doesn't have to be labeled as genetically modified because according to the FDA, there are no biological differences between it and the non-GMO salmon. So if you're trying to avoid GMO foods, you might not even know you're eating one. In 2015, a team of scientists from South Korea and China successfully created what they called double-muscled pigs by editing a single gene, the myostatin gene, or the MSTN, which naturally regulates muscle growth. By turning off this gene, they created these very jacked pigs. The goal is to have these pigs approved for human consumption, but that didn't end up happening. The idea is pretty straightforward. In theory, modify the genes to create meatier pigs and other animals like cows and goats. Sounds like a dream for the meat industry, but in practice things get a lot messier. When CRISPR is used to edit the genes, it's often done by first altering individual cells from the animal's skin, then using cloning techniques to turn these cells into embryos. The cloning process can create a lot of problems. For example, in China, out of 900 genetically engineered pig embryos, only 8 survived with the desired genetic changes. Many of the piglets that did survive were born with severe health problems, like thickened tongues, and many didn't make it past their first few months. GMO mosquitoes. These little critters are designed to help fight diseases like malaria, but like with everything on this list, there is some controversy here as well. One of the big selling points of GMO mosquitoes is their potential to reduce populations of disease-carrying mosquitoes over time. The idea is to release genetically modified male mosquitoes that are designed to outcompete wild males for mates. The offspring of these matings won't survive to adulthood, gradually lowering the mosquito population that carries diseases. Field tests have shown that these GMO mosquitoes don't appear to have any major impact on humans. They're engineered to target specific mosquito species, which means the risks to other species or humans seems minimal. Another advantage is that introducing GMO mosquitoes doesn't involve pesticides. This is a big one for those concerned about harmful chemicals being released into the environment. Now, on the flip side, these modified insects could carry or even develop unknown pathogens that might be harmful to humans. There's also criticism that not enough long-term testing has been done to understand their full impact. There's also a fear that these GMO mosquitoes might mutate into a form that could reproduce, which could create a new set of problems. This last one is quite dubious. The flying umbuku lizard. So the story goes that scientists in Zimbabwe managed to unlock a dormant genetic trait in the umbuku lizard, a small, rare reptile supposedly native to Africa. The lizard is believed to be a descendant of the pterodactyl, the prehistoric flying reptile. So these scientists were able to reawaken a flying strand of DNA that had lain dormant for millions of years. And the result, they created the flying umbuku lizard. To date, apparently, only 6 of these flying lizards have been produced, and they're kept completely separate from the regular umbuku lizards, just to make sure there's no crossbreeding between the genetically modified lizards and the non-modified ones. I can't find a lot of info on this one. I'm not so sure I buy it. But what do you all think? Let us know down in the comments. From venomous octopuses and snails to prehistoric creatures still lurking in the depths of the ocean today, these are terrifying sea creatures scientists fear to study. The blue-ringed octopus is one of the most fascinating but terrifying creatures in the ocean. There are 4 known species of these octopuses, and they all share one thing in common. They are highly venomous and can kill a human in just a matter of minutes. The venom they carry contains tetrodotoxin, a neurotoxin that is 1,000 times more potent than cyanide. Even more frightening is that there's no anti-venom to counteract the effects, making a bite from this octopus potentially fatal. Tetrodotoxin is spread throughout the octopus's body, not just in its venom glands, which is what makes these creatures both poisonous and venomous. The blue-ringed octopus is typically found in tropical and subtropical waters of the Indian and Pacific Oceans. They get their name from those bright blue rings on their bodies, which only appear when the octopus feels threatened or is about to unleash its deadly venom. What's especially terrifying about this species is that their bites are often painless, so you might not even know you've been bitten, but the venom works quickly, paralyzing the body and often leading to respiratory failure. The effects can be rapid, with death occurring anywhere from 24 hours to just 20 minutes after the toxin enters the body. Cone snails are fascinating creatures, and while over 1,000 species exist, there's one species in particular that you just don't want to get near: the geography cone snail. These mollusks are predatory, using specialized venom-filled teeth to paralyze their prey, which is usually small fish, invertebrates, or other snails. The geography cone snail is dangerous though. It can grow up to 6 inches or 15 centimeters long, and its venom contains more than 10,000 active compounds, which are powerful enough to paralyze and even kill humans. A sting from a geography cone snail can cause respiratory paralysis and death if not treated immediately. The venom attacks the nervous system and can lead to suffocation. Over the past 30 years, about 15 people have died from geography cone snails. These things are stealthy and fast too. Their harpoon-like teeth strike so quickly that most people don't even realize they've been stung until it's too late. When it comes to marine creatures with the potential to kill, few are as feared as the box jellyfish. These creatures are famous for their venom, which can cause paralysis, heart failure, and even death within minutes. Box jellyfish are especially dangerous in regions like northern Australia and Southeast Asia, where they're found in large numbers. The Australian box jellyfish has tentacles that can reach up to 10 feet or 3 meters long, and their bodies can grow up to 12 inches or 30 centimeters in diameter. Just one sting can inject a massive amount of venom into a victim's body. It can paralyze a person almost instantly, and if enough venom is delivered, it can lead to heart failure. There are over 50 known species of box jellyfish, but another one of the most feared is the irukandji jellyfish. These ones are much smaller, under an inch, but that's kind of what makes them so scary. Their venom is potent and can cause what's called irukandji syndrome, symptoms of which are intense pain, muscle cramping, high heart rate, and BLOOD pressure, along with fluid in the lungs. It can cause life-threatening heart complications. In Australia alone, between 50 and 100 people are hospitalized each year with irukandji syndrome, and the number of box jellyfish-related deaths, though hard to track, may be much higher than reported. The beaked sea snake is another terrifying sea creature found off the coast of India, Australia, Africa, and the Arabian Sea. This species is considered one of the most venomous sea snakes in the world. It's part of a group of 64 species of sea snake, but the beaked sea snake stands out for its aggressive nature and incredibly potent venom. This snake's venom is so powerful that it's 8 times more toxic than that of a cobra. A mere 1.5 milligrams of its venom can kill a human. A full dose can kill up to 22. The venom contains a strong neurotoxin that causes paralysis, including paralysis of the diaphragm, which can lead to respiratory failure. Though bites from sea snakes are rare, researchers are especially wary of the beaked sea snake because it is known to be more aggressive. Most sea snake bites happen when fishers try to disentangle them from their nets.
While exploring Peru's Alto Mayo region in 2024, scientists found a weird little rodent that lives part of its life in water. Yes, that is right, folks. We have a mouse that swims. It goes against everything I've ever learned about mice growing up, and believe me, I learned a lot. It hasn't been officially named yet, but it's believed to belong to the genus Daptomus, a group of semi-aquatic rodents. These critters have partially webbed feet, a waterproof-looking coat, and a diet that probably includes aquatic insects. They only spotted it in one small, swampy patch of forest, so they are pretty rare. What's especially odd, though, is that the area it was found in isn't untouched jungle. People live and work nearby, so these weirdos, these freaks of nature, have been hiding out in plain sight all this time while we've been watching? I don't know. What are people watching now? Anyways, it says something about how little we actually notice the creatures around us. No one knows yet if this is a totally new species or just a rarely seen one, but either way, it's a pretty wild find. It also shows how even well-trodden parts of the Amazon are still weird as hell. In 2024, scientists working in Bolivia's upper Madiri River confirmed that they'd found a new species of piranha. Thank God, we all wanted a new one. This new species is definitely sharp-toothed like the others, but there are a few things about it that set it apart. It's got a dark crescent-shaped spot on the base of its tail and a deep red anal fin edged in black. Don't ask me what an anal fin is. This is just what I read online from far more qualified people than myself. Sue me. They discovered this new species after catching a few in a lesser studied part of the river, and at a first glance it looked familiar, but the details didn't line up with any of the known species. Back in the lab, genetic tests confirmed that it hadn't been identified before. Researchers say it's part of a group known for aggressive feeding, but we still don't know much about this specific one, like how big they can get or how they can hunt. The point is, even a fish as infamous as the piranha can still surprise you with new branches on the family tree. Maybe don't go skinny dipping in the upper Madiri anytime soon. This one's for the spider people, all 12 of you around the world. In 2024, researchers in Ecuador found a brand new species of giant crab spider. It's part of the huntsman spider family, which are already known for being fast and too big. This one can stretch out around 5 inches with long orange legs tipped in brown, and I feel itchy just talking about it. What's interesting is how it hunts. Unlike web spiders, these guys don't sit and wait. They're stalkers. They move through the jungle a few feet off the ground, creeping silently, looking for prey. That kind of hunting style isn't typical for other spiders in its group, which is what tipped researchers off that this one might be something new. It's the first time a spider from this genus has been found in Ecuador, but others like it have shown up in parts of Central and South America. These guys were named after an Ecuadorian biologist who helped train the team that discovered it, which is a nice touch. My heart is warmed and grossed out because of the spiders. In 2023, scientists discovered a new species of parasitic wasp in the Peruvian Amazon. This wasp has a particularly large head. It's also parasitic, laying eggs inside other insects. Parasitic wasps like this sound disgusting, but they actually play a big role in controlling insect populations. They act as natural pest regulators, and the fact that they're around means there's a healthy ecosystem balance. This one's for anyone who thinks all snakes are huge and scary. In 2022, researchers in Ecuador's Amazon found a snake that barely hit 8 inches long. It is a new species of dwarf boa. It kind of looks like a baby version of a regular boa constrictor. Same coiled body, same rough pattern, but just mini. Don't let the size fool you, however. This thing is still a predator. It eats tiny frogs and lizards and probably anything else small and unlucky enough to cross its path. They found it in 2 places, which both make sense because they are both high biodiversity areas that don't get a lot of foot traffic. What is extra weird is that it's part of a group that is mostly found in the Caribbean, so what the hell is it doing in South America? That's still up for debate, but either way, it shows just how little we actually know about what's crawling around out there. This tiny monkey was hiding in plain sight for years. Scientists only realized in 2021 that it is a completely separate species from the marmosets we already knew about. It is called Schneider's marmoset, and it actually lives in a small patch of rainforest in Brazil. You'd think a monkey with bright orange hands and feet, a silver chest, and a black tail would stand out, but apparently not. Just blended in with its cousins until somebody finally took a closer look at the DNA and skull shape. Turns out this thing's been mislabeled the whole time. It's only about 9 inches tall, not counting the tail, and it's got that wide-eyed, I know something you don't monkey face. But here's the problem. It lives right in the middle of what they call the arc of deforestation. Basically, that's the edge of the Amazon where trees are getting wiped out left and right for cattle, soy, and other development. So yeah, we just figured out this little guy's been here all along, and now it's already in trouble. The more forest gets cleared, the smaller their home gets. So we've got a monkey we didn't know existed with a super limited range living in one of the most threatened parts of the rainforest. That's not a great combo, but hey, at least now we know it's there. Better late than never, I guess? This frog was found in early 2024, but to get to it, scientists had to hike through steep, foggy mountains near the Brazil-Venezuela border. That part of the Amazon is so remote, you pretty much have to parachute in. This frog has a name that sounds like something out of Lord of the Rings, but it fits. The place they found it is nicknamed the Misty Mountains. This creature is small, brown, and doesn't look like much at first, but it lives right near the entrance of tarantula burrows, which is either extremely gutsy or extremely stupid. Either way, it's new to science. It's one of several new frog species they found in that area, which is carved up by ancient geological formations called tepus, basically flat-topped mountains that have been isolated for years. So it's not just the frog that's rare, it's even the land itself. Scientists think frogs like this one evolved to survive specifically in that misty, high-altitude jungle because they don't live anywhere else, which also means that if anything changes, like climate, humidity, even slight damage to the terrain, that could be it for them. There's no plan B for these guys. They've literally got one mountain, one tiny patch of mossy ground, and that's their whole world.
Researchers just discovered a new wolf snake species that eats reptiles. Deep in the Southern Ocean, a death ball sponge traps prey with tiny hooks. And what new animal's been named Chewbacca? These are disturbing new species discovered in 2025. I didn't even know wolf snakes existed, but apparently there's a new one, and it's named after the crocodile hunter Steve Irwin himself. This brand new snake was discovered on Great Nicobar, which is basically the southern tip of the Nicobar Islands just off the coast of Sumatra. Scientists named it Irwin's wolf snake. The team explained why they named it after Steve. In their words, his passion and dedication to wildlife education and conservation have inspired naturalists and conservationists worldwide, including the authors of the paper. This new snake is shiny black and just over 3 feet long. It hunts lizards, frogs, and small mammals, and it might only live on this one island. Now, that's pretty cool, but it does mean it's super vulnerable. The scientists who found it are already calling it endangered just because its home is tiny and humans can mess it up pretty quickly. Deep in a handful of South Korean caves, a research team led by Kyung-hoon Jeong at Jeongbuk National University came across 4 new species of pseudo-scorpions, which are basically tiny arachnids that look like scorpions from the front because they have pincers, but they don't have a stinger, and they're usually only a few millimeters long. These ones belong to a group people call dragon pseudo-scorpions because their jaws are oversized compared to the rest of their bodies. They're blind, pale, and adapted to total darkness. The team found them during field surveys, then preserved the specimens in ethanol so they could run what they called integrative taxonomy, meaning they compared everything like their genetics and physical features to confirm these were new species. Each one lives in a single cave or karst system, and the study points out that, quote, each of these new species is different, both in their genetic makeup and how they look, even though they share the same general cave-dwelling lifestyle. South Korea has over 1,000 caves across the Taebaek and Sobaek mountain ranges, and a lot of them haven't been studied at all. So if 4 new species showed up and just a handful of them, I mean, who knows what else could be lurking down there? Far at the bottom of the world, ocean scientists have been exploring one of the most remote parts of the Southern Ocean. And man, have they found a lot of weird stuff. Earlier this year, a team aboard the research vessel RV Falkor collected nearly 2,000 specimens around the South Sandwich Islands and already found 30 new species. They found this carnivorous sponge that they're calling a death ball sponge, which is covered in tiny hooks it uses to trap its prey. Not at all how we usually picture sea sponges. Then there are armored, iridescent scale worms, 3 new species of sea stars, and a whole bunch of previously unknown crustaceans like isopods and amphipods. Actually, the team thinks they may have discovered an entirely new family of amphipods. But even with all this, the Southern Ocean is still mostly unexplored. Michelle Taylor from the Ocean Census said, "To date, we have only assessed under 30% of the samples collected from this expedition, so confirming 30 new species already shows how much biodiversity is still undocumented." Up in the hills of India's eastern Ghats, scientists just found a brand new skink. That's a type of small, smooth lizard. This is its official, hard to pronounce name. Let's put it right here. It's also called the Deccan gray seal skink. What makes this a big deal is that it's the first new skink like this found in the area in more than 80 years. Researchers spotted it in 2 protected nature reserves. Notice how long and skinny this thing is. It almost looks like a snake, but it has little legs. It's a funny looking creature. It also has a kind of see-through lower eyelid. Scientists checked its DNA to make sure it really was a completely new species, and it turned out to be different enough from its closest relatives to earn its own name. This skink is only the 9th one of its kind ever described, and it's the first one from this area in decades. Finding it helps scientists understand more about how lizards' limbs and toes can change over time. Some will lose digits, some are almost snake-like, and this one is kind of somewhere in between.
For decades, people across the US have reported sightings of hairless creatures rummaging through trash or crossing backyards. Many assumed these were cryptids or mangy coyotes. In many cases, they were actually raccoons. Sarcoptic mange can explain most of these sightings, but in several documented incidents in Pennsylvania and Texas, veterinarians found raccoons with no mites, no infection, and no disease. Their hair just simply never grew. Their skin was unusually thick and sensitive, and genetic testing didn't reveal a single clear mutation. Environmental triggers have been suggested, but no one has pinned down the cause. The phenomenon has shown up in scattered, unrelated populations across the country, but what makes it so confusing, it's not spreading like a disease. It's just appearing randomly, again and again. In 2017, a farmer in Georgia was stunned when one of his goats gave birth to a baby with 8 fully formed legs. Spider goat. Veterinarians confirmed the extra limbs were not just small growths, they were actual legs attached at the torso in a way that suggested embryonic twinning. Usually when an embryo splits and doesn't separate completely, you get conjoined twins. But this goat had only 1 head and 1 set of organs. That made its mutation unique. Despite its deformity, the goat lived for weeks after birth and became a media sensation. Scientists couldn't fully explain how the extra limbs formed so symmetrically or why its internal development stayed singular. It remains one of the strangest livestock cases ever documented. In 2011, a group of fishermen caught a dusky shark in the Gulf of California. When they opened the pregnant shark, they found a fetus with 1 perfectly centered eye. A marine biologist examined the specimen and confirmed it was a genuine case of cyclopia. The mutation happens early in embryonic development and usually leads to fatal defects, but this shark fetus was otherwise completely normal. Scans showed its organs and skeletal structure were healthy. The only abnormality was its single, fully developed eye. Scientists preserved the shark for study, but to this day they can't explain why this case was so biologically clean compared to most other occurrences. In 2018, pig farmers in China began reporting litters with bizarre facial deformities. Some piglets had snouts that curved upwards like a trunk. Others had eyes misplaced on their heads or unusually shaped ears. Veterinary teams investigated dozens of cases. The piglets didn't show signs of chemical exposure or infection, and genetic testing didn't find a consistent mutation either. The deformities appeared randomly in unrelated herds, then faded away months later. Many piglets were otherwise healthy, which made the phenomenon even stranger. While the leading theories point to spontaneous genetic errors triggered by environmental stress, no one has been able to prove it. To this day, it's one of China's most unexplained farm animal anomalies. Two-headed snakes have fascinated and unsettled people for decades, but what makes some of these cases truly mysterious isn't just their appearance, it's how they survive. In 2019, a two-headed copperhead snake was found in Virginia. Instead of dying after a few days like most do, it lived under observation for months. Both heads were fully functional and shared one body, constantly competing over food and movement. This condition, called bicephaly, is rare but well documented. What scientists can't fully explain is how some of these snakes develop coordination between the two heads. A few have survived over a decade in captivity. The neurological adaptation required for two brains to share one body and function well is still not understood. In 2015, marine biologist David Gruber made a discovery in the Solomon Islands that left researchers speechless. While diving at night, his team encountered a glowing hawksbill sea turtle emitting bright green and red light. This was the first biofluorescent reptile ever documented. Unlike bioluminescent creatures that create their own light, this turtle absorbed surrounding light and re-emitted it in neon colors. Scientists were able to record it and study it, but they still don't fully understand how or why a sea turtle would evolve this ability. It doesn't match typical defense mechanisms or camouflage patterns. This discovery was published in National Geographic and stunned the scientific community. It proved that even large, well-studied species can still hold incredible secrets.